This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
By the way, we're officially on YouTube because so many of you say, I wish I would have heard this when I was younger. And the younger generation is living over there. So now, so are we. I am Nicole Khalil, and you're listening to the This Is Woman's Work podcast. We're together. We're redefining what it means, what it looks and feels like to be doing woman's work in the world today, with confidence and the occasional rant. So, friend, when today's guest reached out, we initially thought that she wrote a book about how to have fun. And since your host may be somebody who's historically taken life far too seriously, our team thought, yes, please, sign us, or maybe just me, up. Listen, we know some of our topics are heavy. Sometimes I go dark. So we were excited to talk about having fun because let's face it, we could all use a little more levity and a lot less doom scrolling in our lives. But then we actually read the sentence after the fun part and realized that her topic is about fun at work. And our brains short-circuited. You could almost hear the screech of the Tokyo Drift that happened in our minds because when was the last time you heard a woman say, I had so much fun at work today? Go on, think about it. I'll wait. Hearing a woman talk about stress, overwhelm, burnout, sure, like earlier today, right? But fun? Not so much. And here's the part that really sucks about that. We spend most of our waking hours at work. So if you don't enjoy it, then you're not just hating your job, you're hating your life. Somewhere along the way, we learned that work is supposed to be hard, draining, and only rewarding in the form of a paycheck or a promotion, as if joy somehow makes us less professional. But what if the opposite is true? What if joy, play, and even fun are the secret ingredients to doing our best work, to actually creating meaning, connection, and brilliance? That's exactly what today's guest is here to talk about. Bree Groff is a workplace culture expert and author of Today Was Fun, a book about work. Seriously. She has spent her career guiding executives at companies like Microsoft, Pfizer, Target, and Hilton through periods of complex change. She's a senior advisor to the global transformation consultancy SY Partners, and her work flips professionalism on its head and proves fun might just belong in the job description. So, Bree, thanks for joining us. And let's start with this. Fun and work are not words we often hear in the same sentence. For those of us who are actually, like our brains are scrambled by the concept, what do you mean? What would it actually look like to be able to say today was fun about work?
Yes. I hear you. Lots of people are like, does not compute.
Right.
And I get it because so much of how we talk about work and fun is, I'm having fun right now, I better get back to work, or don't have too much fun. The thought that fun and work could coexist, that actually fun is how you do great work, is in many ways a new concept and one that I'm trying to galvanize in workplaces. So sometimes I go back to the physics definition of work, just to ground ourselves in what we're talking about, which is that work equals force times distance. That's it. It's just some effort that makes a difference. There's nothing in that equation about pain, about stress, about back-to-back meetings. And so when we think about what's fundamentally true about work and getting paid work in particular, we don't get paid because work is painful and people wouldn't do it otherwise. We get paid because we create value. The pain is optional. If you think about a product or a service that you're buying, you're not buying it because, oh, somebody worked really hard on this. You're buying it because it improves your life in some way. And if the company and the people who created it were having a great time doing it, then all the better. All good for them.
What you just said is so obviously true. And yet, again, my brain just short circuited it again. You're absolutely right. People don't buy our products or our services because of the effort we put into it. They buy
Right.
it because of what it's going to do for them. And yet, we still correlate so often effort, activity, long hours, first in, last out. Like there is this sort of badge of honor around how hard we work.
Yes.
And basically, you're asking us to let that go and think about this differently. Fair?
Yeah. There are actually two mindsets about work, two ends of the pendulum that I'm trying to push back against both of them. One of them is work is called work for a reason. Work is painful, it's drudgery, it's in exchange for a paycheck, and to think otherwise is to not live in reality. That, as I've just shared, I don't believe is true or necessary. The other end of the spectrum, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Follow your passion, your dreams, your calling. I also don't think that is helpful to us. For one, it's a really high bar, one that makes a lot of people feel very bad about themselves. Oh, I'm not having fun at work. What am I doing wrong? I'm wasting my life. Secondly, even if you do feel that way about your work, which some people do, and that is amazing for them, it's also a recipe for burnout because now if my work is my calling, why am I spending my time on anything else? So I'm
Right.
proposing really a third way to consider that maybe work is simply a nice way to spend our time on the planet. It's a nice way to get together and create products, services, experiences that make other people's lives a little bit better on the planet. That maybe it's plenty to have a career full of just really pretty decent, good days at work with people that we enjoyed. And maybe that's actually a really beautiful version of work.
Bree, I feel like you just articulated an internal conflict that I've had the bulk of my working life, which is this idea that if you do your purpose and your work is your calling, then, and I have that a little bit. I love the work that I do. I do think this is part of my calling, but not at the sacrifice of other things or other priorities. And so I've struggled with that. And then the flip side is I've had times where I took work far too seriously and it was
Mm.
all about productivity. And basically, I feel like I've swung the pendulum on both sides. And your third way, your third option is a nice, healthy middle ground for a lot of us. Maybe not everybody, but for a lot of us. And I am, again, loving this concept. I also will point out something that has always kind of bothered me or is bothering me recently is this idea that all the advantages that we have now with technology, with AI, with all the things that create efficiencies for us, why would we need to work at the same level, at the same amount of hours as we did 10 years ago, 20 years ago,
Right.
30 years ago? I can never understand that. And yet we still are in this space and a lot of culture of grind and grit and all of that. Like, how do these things not, it doesn't line up. Am I making any sense?
You are making total sense. And this is something I think about constantly when it comes to AI in particular. Because when we do have these leaps of technology, we there there's a fork in the road where one way leads to some kind of utopia and one leads to more of a dystopia. The utopia version is you're right, there's a burnout epidemic. Everyone's tired and overworked. And oh my God, wouldn't it be just magical if a technology could come along to magically make us 50% more productive? And then voila, here come the robots. And you would think, and it's possible actually, if organizations were to make this decision, if you use those efficiency gains in order to reduce the workload on employees, this is the advent of the 4-day work week, or simply just not the 6-day work week,
Right.
that's possible. Unfortunately, there's also a dystopian version where we're looking at mass unemployment because now organizations are getting squeezed and trying to improve their bottom line and replace entry-level talent. So anyway, that's at like the 50,000-foot level, where we have to think about how are we, like how are governments essentially incentivizing organizations in order to prioritize people. But even at an individual level, I think humans, I'm speaking broadly, I'll speak for myself. Even I, when I find myself more productive, my brain first goes to, oh, what else can I take on? What else can I do? It's very hard for me to take the win of, oh, I've now become more efficient for X, Y, and Z, and simply put that towards naps.
Right.
But that's part of why I wrote a book about it. You write the book you most need to read about one of the chapters is titled, How Do You Get Good at Life, Not Just Good at Work? In other words, how can we invest some of our productivity savings into getting good at crossword puzzles or getting a promotion in our hobby or becoming an A-plus sleeper or partner or whatever that may be. It's hard in a culture where we are first and foremost praised for our productivity and our economic output. But I think it's important, and one of the things I feel passionately about is that we stand up for the value of our unproductive time, that we actually assert confidence in the value of our own enjoyment and pleasure and fun, because that has value because we say so. It's not going to have value because it's going to show up on some P&L. It has value because I say my jigsaw puzzles, that's valuable time for me. And I think that's up to us to assert.
Okay. A few thoughts in no particular order. First, I can completely relate. I sometimes catch myself wondering if I can be taking my time off more productively. I'm like,
I know.
isn't that ridiculous?
I know.
Is there a more productive way for me to be taking this day off? It's wild. And I think there's an element of, I don't know if any of us really know what we would do with extra time that we create. And so it's this default to try to fill it. And sometimes we fill it in really unproductive ways, like extra time on social media or something like that. Like, this is not what we would say if somebody asked, what would you do with an extra 5 hours a week? I can't imagine anyone would consciously say I would spend more time on social media. Is we default to it because we don't know what to do with it because we're not
Yes.
thinking ahead on it. And you said something that triggered the thought of, I feel like there's this sort of misconception that we are different people in our lives than we are at work, or that we
Yeah.
leave ourselves behind when we show up to work. And I just have to believe from personal experience and anecdotal, it's like when my life is better, I show up to work better. And when my work is more fun or more engaging or even more productive, but like in the best ways, not in the I have so much shit to do ways,
Yeah.
it makes my life better. And I don't know, there's something to this that is really speaking to my soul. But I have to ask the question because I know, well, I would be asking it, but
Yeah.
devil's advocate. The purpose of most businesses is predominantly profitability, right? Or else we would just do nonprofits or volunteer. How do you argue for or defend against the people who say, well, profit bottom line is the priority, so why should I care about people having fun?
Yeah. So certainly there are some systems that companies have opted into where that's what they've signed up for, right? Like a board member has a fiduciary responsibility. You're publicly traded, that's what you signed up for. So in some contexts, that's more of an uphill battle, although I've worked with many publicly traded companies. For privately held companies, they're the ones that I think are more interesting because they're not held to those same standards. For a company where there's an owner and that owner gets to decide how much profits are we going to extract, then I think there's an opportunity for an argument, which is an existential argument. It's, to be honest, like I'm really tired of making the business case for employee engagement Because that's where all the consultants and HR leaders go immediately. And I get it. I've been there so many times. It's like, well, care about your people because engagement drives productivity. Because did you know that when your employees have friends at work, that improves retention, profitability, safety, and all those things? But it's like, oh my God, like, when have we stopped being humans? And so my go-to is to simply talk to those leaders, to those executives as human beings who also want to enjoy their days on the planet, who also feel stress about keeping a business afloat, to say, yes, you have a responsibility for a financially healthy business and to serve your customers, but also it is a heavy weight to consume human days, which is what you are doing as a business. You are acquiring human days and you're in charge. You are the steward of how those are used. Now, sometimes when I'm pulling out all the stops, I will tell the story of two team members who've passed away um, in my time as a leader, both from cancer, both incredibly beautiful humans. And when I look back on the time where I was their team leader, the last thing I am thinking about is whether I extracted full value from them. The last thing. That's an offensive thought to even cross my, because of course they did their jobs, they were good at their jobs. I'm thinking about, did they laugh on those days? Because they ran out of Mondays. Mondays are not a renewable resource. Was I a good steward of the few Mondays that I was responsible for how they spent those? Did I make them feel supported, appreciated, valued? That's what's on my mind. And then the logical leap that we need to make, that leaders need to make, is that all employees are going to run out of Mondays, including yourself. And so, what does it mean to extract value from people such that you're making a profit? For what? Don't
Right.
you want to retire and look back on your career knowing that you not only served customers, but you also created decent jobs with happy people who most days enjoyed their days? So that's where I go real dark for a topic about fun. And then the bonus is that, yes, of course, employee engagement drives productivity and profitability. Like that, I don't worry about anymore because that is so true. The research is out there. It's going to take care of your business if you take care of your people.
Well, first, I'm really twisted because going dark is actually fun for me. So thank you. And I think there's an element too of, yeah, retention is costly and people will stay at places where they feel appreciated and valued and are having fun. And I know, well, I believe, Bree, that you're not suggesting that we should be having fun at all times in our work days or even at all times in our life. We're talking about moments of fun, experiences of fun. And when it's happening, not the automatic default of, oh, I got to get back to work as opposed to seeing it as part of. Is that a fair statement or am I off track?
Yeah. So, absolutely. So, I would say two things. One, doing really high quality, impactful work is fun. Like that is that's the cake, right? Not the sprinkles on top. When we are sharing our creativity with the world, when even if you're a middle level marketing manager, you're not maybe changing the world, but you come up with a really badass marketing copy campaign and you're like, yeah, that's good. And you can tell your other fellow marketing manager, like, look what I came up with. And they're like, oh my God, that's really like even just those small moments, those are fun.
Yeah.
It's actually fun to use our skills. It's fun to grow our skills. It's fun to work alongside other people. It's fun to see our work out in the world. When that marketing manager sees that ad copy on a subway, they're like, oh my God, I did this. So the fun is actually in the work. It's not the accoutrement. It's not the happy hour.
Right.
Um, and so there's nothing at odds with having fun and doing great work. In fact, like I often tell the story of Kati Kariko, who's the mRNA researcher whose work led to the development of the COVID vaccines. And there's a great story about how her husband would always say to her when she was heading off to work, he'd say, "You're not going to work. You're going to have fun." Right. And she saved the world in many ways, right? Like her having fun, her enjoyment in the work itself was what made it brilliant. It wasn't a distraction from it.
Here's my hot take. What if we all gave the finger to resolutions about losing weight and focused instead on gaining pleasure? This year, instead of another resolution that quietly dies by mid January, more women are choosing something different. They're having better sex. Beducated is an online platform with over 150 courses on sex and intimacy designed to help women explore pleasure in a safe, private space at their own pace from the comfort of their own bedroom. And you don't have to guess where to start. You take their quiz and get a personalized roadmap to sexual happiness. No pressure, no performance, no shame. So if you're done with resolutions that make you feel smaller, try one that actually expands your life and relationships. Click the link in show notes to kick off your journey by taking the quiz. Get your personalized roadmap to sexual happiness with Beducated.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Okay, again, all of this is resonating with me. And my personal example is this. Like, these conversations are so much fun for me. I get to do this for a living, right? And it's only a 30-minute component of the work that goes into something like this, like the prep, the minutia, that like that part might not be as fun. This part is fun. The flip side, though, is, as I said in the intro, what we're hearing about mostly is stress, overwhelm, burnout, pure hatred, whatever you want to call it, right? And you say in the book that busyness and all of these things are killing brilliant work. Talk to us about that and why fun and brilliance are connected and why this is important to bring back into the workplace.
Yes. So the fun and the brilliance, these 30-minute conversations, that's where the good stuff is. I first want to say, though, to your other point, chapter 1 in the book is titled Most Work, Most Days Should Be Fun. So just a head nod to not all work and all days will be fun. There's a great Norwegian saying in response to the question, "How are you?" which is up and not crying. And sometimes, you're having a bad day at work. You have to do all the editing, whatever, one day. There's no podcast in sight. And you're like, you know what? I'm up and not crying. And that is plenty. So a big reality check to not all work is going to be brilliant and fun. And that's totally normal. And then to your question on brilliant work and getting rid of the busyness and the conformity that surrounds us, this is the great Venn diagram intersection of where individual fun and business impact are laying circly on top of each other in my Venn diagram. Brilliant work is good because it drives impact and value, but also it's one of the coolest parts of being a human that we can come up with ideas, essentially say to our colleagues like we're big kids, "Hey, do you want to do my idea with me?" And like, let's try it. Let's put it out into the world. The things that get in the way of that, unfortunately, are some of the strongest tenets of what we think of as professionalism. So busyness is one. The 30-minute back-to-back meetings we have all day. Microsoft report on the infinite workday reported that people are interrupted every 2 minutes from a meeting, a message, or an email. This is not how our brains work. There's a reason we get our best ideas in the shower when we are away from all of that. So the culture of busyness is actually not bad for coordination and execution, and we need some of that. There's a reason why we're so busy typing all day long, because large-scale execution sometimes requires it. But brilliant work requires spaciousness, requires us to block hours or even a day or more on our calendar to simply think. And then further, there's the notion of conformity. You look around modern workplaces, especially I'll call it the financial industry, and you see the ties and the blazers and the pumps, and it all looks very much the same. All the presentations look the same, the reports look the same. And brilliance does not grow out of a soil of conformity.
Mhm.
That we need to allow ourselves to be quirky, different, bold, a little bit unreasonable, a little bit delusional. And all of those things are often felt to be unprofessional. So if workplaces and individuals want to do their most brilliant work, they have to do the two things that will feel quite unnatural, which is spend some time not being productive in the sense that we think of I'm typing, I'm making, and also being a little bit weird. But if organizations can create space for those things, or we can create space for ourselves, then we are doing better work.
Again, completely resonating. You talk about do nothing days, right, in the book.
Mhm.
And I love this as a strategy for brilliance, for better work. Yeah, I do find that I have my best ideas in the shower or when I'm on a walk or when I'm not in front of a computer or not in a meeting strategizing. Like those things have their place. But in the absence of nothing hours or nothing days, I don't think I would move very far forward. It would
Mm.
be more tactical than like big idea. And I want to talk about this idea of being professional. And there's a lot of data. Again, my lean is on the podcast side, but one of the things we're learning is traditional news, as an example, is getting a lot less engagement because people are tired of the polished and the everything is and
Mhm.
they're going to YouTube for news because they're looking for the weird. They're looking for the authentic. They're looking for the unpolished. They're looking for the unprofessional. And I don't mean
Yeah.
unprofessional like in the
Rude or
right
not good work, or yeah.
or showing up naked or anything like that. I'm talking about not so cookie cutter, not so expected, not so perfect.
Yeah.
It is really interesting. Now, how do we do that in cultures that expect that? Like, how do we push against that envelope if, it's not embraced or coming from the top down?
Yeah. So, my best strategy there is exposure therapy. Just like you would if you had a fear of snakes, right? You look at a picture of a snake, then you look at a snake in a box, and then you get a little closer to the snake.
My
Same.
editor is deathly afraid of snakes. You just freaked her out. I love it. Keep going.
Oh my gosh. Maybe I should mess up this part so she has to edit this part about snakes for 20 minutes. Anyway, my apologies.
She's already horrified.
Okay, picked the right example.
Mhm.
Yeah, but the same thing is true for what we're afraid of in the workplace. And what I find is breaking a small norm of professionalism, rarely does anything bad happen. So, for example, if anyone is listening to this and not watching this, you wouldn't know, but I have wet hair. And I have wet hair because I exercised this morning. I came home. I had to get my daughter out of the apartment because she was going to be way too loud for me to record a podcast. I showered and I jumped on. And the truth is, I'm just as smart with my hair wet or dry. And I have just decided for myself the rest of the world can deal with me having wet hair. It's going to be fine. And you know what? I haven't ever gotten fired for it. No podcast has ever told me we're not going to air this. And so it's one small way that I assert that I am human, that my exercise was important, and also when I have frequently shown up with wet hair in with a team or in a consulting environment, I find it gives other people the permission to do the same. It's a one small subversive act. Now, if wet hair doesn't feel good, you can pick your thing, right? You can choose a fun font on your presentation. You can wear a quirky sock. You can experiment with one swear word in a meeting and see what
I've
happens.
experimented with that one a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going. Also, real quick, Bree, I
Mhm,
want to point out
sure.
for those people who are just listening, you have pictures behind you that are all of your life. And I think what a beautiful reminder that you are a human and you have a life outside of what you just do for a living. I haven't seen anything like that so far. I think we all tend to lean towards backgrounds, that are very, again, I put in air quotes, professional. So that is another great example.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, my publicist and others were they gave me all the standard advice, and it's all very good and understandable. I have a clean background, nothing distracting. And I thought when I was setting up my desk, I was like, well, I've got this wall. I like the light here. And yeah, the fact that you can see my grandpa hugging my daughter behind me, like it makes me happy. And it also, I think, is an act of, I hope, of just sharing myself. This is
Mhm.
me fully with wet hair and pictures behind me. So, what I find is that when we are that person in a workplace where we try one small subversive act of humanity, not only is it empowering for us, because usually nothing really bad happens. No one's going to be like, I need to talk to you about your socks. They're far too
Right.
fun. Right. And then also, when you give people the permission, you become what I call a give no shits role model. It's it's becoming that person, and I know I've had these people in my life, maybe you and others have as well, where a person who just gives 7 fewer fucks than everyone else, and I look at them and I think, "I wanna be like that." That
Mhm.
person feels free and confident and empowered, and I think especially as a woman, feel like when I've grown up with the message that you're supposed to be presentable and palatable and professional, my very first teaching mentor who swore all the time, I looked at her and I was like, "I wanna be you when I grow up." And it wasn't just the profanity, it was the confidence, and so I think that's what we can do for ourselves and for others is to experiment with a little bit of mischief.
Yes. Mischief, what a good word. I don't know why this popped in my head, but every time I see the expression age gracefully, I'm like, "No, age with mischief." Like, my research is on the topic of confidence, and one of the things that I find really interesting is women's confidence increases as they age, whereas men's dips in their 60s. And I think it's because
Oh.
men's confidence is often tied to what they do for a living, and when they retire, there is this sort of like, "Who am I?" Whereas I think women, as they get older, this like freeing feeling of less fucks to give and not giving so much credence to other people's opinions and letting go of the shoulds and the supposed tos and also a little bit of people pay a lot less attention to how we look the older we get. There's just a lot of things in there, but I love this idea of aging mischievously and mischief
Mm.
as part of a way to express ourselves. So thank you for using that word. Okay, I have to ask this one last question because my background is in an industry where delayed gratification is literally built into it.
Mm.
And we normally think of delayed gratification as a good thing, but you make a case against it in the book. Talk to us about that.
Yes. So, I get the normal argument, right? Don't save the cookies for later. You'll thank yourself. Sleep now, exercise now. So you'll thank yourself. Save now, right? It's all good. But when we think about work and what we are delaying the gratification of when we work so much and so hard, we're not delaying the gratification of some hedonistic pleasure like cookies. We're often delaying the gratification of time with our friends and family. Like, sorry, honey, I can't help you with your homework right now. I have to finish this thing. We're delaying the gratification of our health and feeling good. I can't exercise this morning. I can't, like, even though I know it's going to make me feel good, I need to get this thing done. We're delaying the gratification of just, frankly, our enjoyment of life. Right? Like, I don't have time to go out to the Botanic Gardens, which is my happy place, or go out to lunch with a friend because I'm working, right? And so when we think about delayed gratification in the context of overworking, it's not that, oh, I'll enjoy myself when I'm retired. It's that right now, if you are overworking, you are underliving. You are actually postponing the most beautiful parts of your life. And I I've been an overworker, I still am sometimes, and yet it fires me up because I don't want any system to make us feel like our health, our relationships, and our pleasure are expendable and delayable because they are not.
Right.
Right? You have to take joy now or you can't schedule joy for later, right? And
Yeah.
no one's going to give you joy. You have to take it. No one's going to give you time for a nap. You take the time for a nap. And so I say this as someone who's not always good at this, but also strives to always be better, to have confidence in taking the pleasure, the love, the joy now, because I know that delaying it is a recipe for delaying my own happiness.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you I was a poster child for this in my 20s. I mean, the proving myself, I had no life. It was all at the sacrifice of life and joy and fun and all of that. And I lost an entire decade of my life. Now, I'm very
Mm.
happy with my life as it is today. And it wasn't necessary to create the life that I have today. I don't regret much in my life, but that particular time was not healthy. And as you said earlier, a reminder that our Mondays aren't guaranteed. None of our, I'll have fun when I retire. Well, okay, that's not guaranteed. What
Mhm.
is guaranteed is the day that we're in right now. And
Yeah.
this idea that we're sacrificing our life for work, it can be haunting. So anyway, Bree, thank you
Yes.
for writing the book, for championing this cause. I can
Yeah.
talk. For you, the listener, the book again is called Today Was Fun. And you can go to breegroff.com to get more information about Bree and her work and her Substack and all of that. We're going to put the links and all of that in show notes, but it's BREEGROFF.com. Thank you for being our guest today. I very much appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun in this 30 minutes and hope
Me
you
too.
did too. And so appreciate you having me.
It was my pleasure. All right, friend, here's where I land. Work doesn't have to be miserable to be meaningful. Hard doesn't automatically equal valuable. And fun isn't a distraction from real work. It can be the very thing that makes the work better. We've been conditioned to expect stress, overwhelm, and burnout as if they're the cost of doing business. But what if that's not the price of success? What if it's the barrier to it? If we're spending most of our waking hours at work, then we should expect some joy, some passion, some fun. Anything less, and we're wasting a huge part of our lives. It's time we rewrite the rules and the job descriptions to include some fun at work. Because claiming joy where we've been told that it doesn't belong, well, that is woman's work.